Well, Rube, one Philly team beat a Houston team on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the way this team deals with adversity, talking about the Eagles here, is really impressive. This was not the way, I think they drew it up. It's not the kind of game they wanted. You don't want to go into the third quarter tied against a 1-5-1 team, but whether it's holding on to that lead in Detroit or coming back from 14 points down against the Jags, this team is really good at dealing with adversity, and we saw that tonight.
Yeah, we saw that for sure. The final score, Eagles 29, Texans 17. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. A bunch to talk about, but let's not bury the lead here. The Eagles are 8-0 for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah, and they're 8-0 with a 24-year-old quarterback. Only the third team in history that can say that. The 1984 Dolphins were 8-0 with Dan Marino, was 23. And the 2018 Rams were 8-0 under Jared Goff and the 2022 Eagles, and that's it. So, yeah, it's a team effort to get to 8-0, but I'll tell you what, their quarterback might be the MVP of the league right now. Is playing at such a high level. This team is really impressive. I really like the way they kind of took command in the fourth quarter. It was hairy. It was getting hairy there for a little bit. Yeah. It was touch and go, and They made the plays defensively. You kind of felt like they were coming, but the takeaways, the sacks. But I think finally they got the Texans in a position where they were a known pass, and that really plays into their hands because that running game they have is terrific. But you're down 2 possessions, and with 6 minutes left, eventually you got to abandon the run and try to make some plays down the field. Once they did that, it fell into the Eagles' hands.
Yeah, it's pretty clear what the formula should be for the Eagles and really every team. Get up and make your opponent one-dimensional. But you said it earlier, and it's true. We've been kind of negative after wins before because there's things to clean up. And we'll get into some of those things they need to clean up. I think they're pretty obvious. But I give them a ton of credit, and they wouldn't have used it as an excuse. But it's tough to play a game on Sunday, go on the road 4 days later, and have to play a team that, they're not very good, but you're getting everyone's best shot.
Right.
You're undefeated, and the Eagles weathered the storm, and they finally put it away when they needed to. It's the sign of a good team when you win games like this, and it's almost like the perfect kind of game for Jalen Hurts because they win, and he still gets to say, "Yeah, but we have a lot to clean up," which is true.
Yeah. This game reminded me of that Miami game a few years ago down there. I think it was 2019 when Miami was really bad, but they played really, really well. And they beat the Eagles that day. And, at first I thought, wow, the Eagles, they played awful. I didn't play great, but when I rewatched the game, it was just really Miami just played really, really like over their heads. And I thought Houston did that tonight. And I think part of that is when you're 8-0, you're every team's Super Bowl opponent, and I thought Houston made plays and did things that they haven't been doing, especially in the passing game. They made some plays down the field that really surprised me. We knew they could run the ball, but
without their top two receivers.
And I tell you what, I think Brandon Cooks not being there is probably a net gain because that guy, he's tearing up that locker room. So you get rid of him or you shut him down. And it kind of takes one headache away. I think you see that sometimes when that kind of thing happens. But I don't think the Eagles played well, but I think Houston played really, really well. And that combination on a short week on the road made it a difficult game. But they still found a way. They won by 12, missed a field goal. And I never felt like they were going to lose, but certainly when it was 14-14 at halftime early in the third quarter, it was a little hairy.
It was. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit. Homecoming for him. It meant something to him, and he tried to play it cool all week, but it was pretty clear. It was cool. His family was on the field for the game. Just think about this. You're a 24-year-old dude going home. Not only are you going home as a professional football player, you're going home quarterbacking the only undefeated team in the league. You're a legitimate MVP candidate. And as you run out of the tunnel, all the Eagles fans there are chanting MVP. I mean, what a surreal moment for Jalen Hurts.
What would you say was the ratio of Eagles fans? It seemed pretty high.
There were a lot. Yeah. But you have to think about this too. If you're an Eagles fan going to this game, you bought a plane ticket, a hotel,
Right.
you're going. Whereas if you're you got a hotel room. If you're a Houston Astros fan and you're a Houston Texans fan, you're probably staying home to watch that game. So it was clear it was loud. It was louder for the Eagles than it was for the Texans.
It seemed that way. But in response to it was interesting because Jalen, who's a guy that never shows any emotion, he even said, in his post game, he said, I never show any emotion, but it was emotional to come home here and play and play in a stadium. I never had a chance to play before. I guess they have the Texas high school championships there. He didn't get to play there. Obviously,
they play they play a lot of playoff games here, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But it obviously meant a lot to him. He had a lot of family and friends there. For Jalen Hurts to admit he got a little emotional about something, I don't know if I've ever heard that before. So it meant a lot to him. And he played. Look, you can nitpick. I mean, there was a couple, really second week in a row, there's a couple sacks he ran into. His pocket awareness which has been flawless all year, wasn't quite flawless, although some of that was just how quickly the Texans pass rush was getting into the backfield. But he threw the ball beautifully, made great decisions. I thought it was in less than ideal conditions because he never really got into a rhythm. I thought he really played well.
He did. He lost a fumble for the first time this year. That wasn't great. And you're right, his pocket awareness on some of those weren't great. I'm specifically thinking of the cornerback blitz from Steven Nelson.
Right. First career sack.
Was it? Yeah, I mean, he's got to feel that. But overall, I thought it was a fine game from Jalen. He did what he needed to do. Him and Dallas Goedert had it working. And he hit a bunch of different receivers. I know Dallas had 100 yards. A.J. Brown was next, but he hit Devontae. He hit Quez. He hit Jack Stoll. He was mixing it around a little bit. I thought it was a decent game from Jalen.
I write about Jack Stoll, and it's a big catch.
Yeah. Hey, and Zach McPherson had a big special team.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we usually jinx people. It was the opposite this time.
I know.
Jalen Hurts, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 68% after 8 games. One of only 8 quarterbacks in history to put up those numbers after 8 games. Brady, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Alex Smith, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Jalen Hurts, and Guy in Indy.
Oh, wow.
Guy in Indy in 2018.
Yeah, he really improved his passer or his completion percentage that year because it was pretty low in 17.
Yeah, he got off to a great start in 18. But, I mean, that's the kind of company he's in. And, I mean, he's so accurate. What was he, 21 out of 27 today?
Yeah. And that was with a couple that he probably missed.
Yeah. Early. Early. He seems to miss a couple guys early. I don't know if he's too hyped up but I mean, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend when there's a lot of pressure. And I thought it was just really, really astute of him to instinctively start throwing it to Goddard when he was under pressure.
Yeah. And he was open because they run that Tampa too, and the tight ends are going to be open. And the Eagles have a good one, man. He is so dynamic.
He's so much fun to watch. And, he's got the hands of a receiver, and he runs the routes of a receiver. And then when he catches a ball, he's like, he's like a safety or something. He's just so physical. And,
I thought you were going to go with like a big running back.
No, he's like, because he's like imposing his will. He's like that's why he reminds me of a defensive player. Once he has the ball in his hands, he's just running over people. And, I mean, Zach Ertz was an incredible player. I'm not taking anything away from him, but Goddard is playing at a level right now when you factor in his blocking and his receiving, where he might be having the best season ever by an Eagles tight end. Yeah,
it's very possible. He's fun to watch too. It's just every play is huge. You have a feeling that he can break it at any moment.
Yeah. His 4th career 100-yard game. He's on pace for over 1,100 yards and I think like close to 80 catches. Obviously, there's an extra game, but I mean, it's like every game he's catching 5, 6. And the thing is, his catch to target ratio is insane. I think he was 8 out of 9 today. Catches almost every target.
And then you see some players around the league. I think like Deontay Johnson last week. It's caught like half of the balls he's been targeted on, and Dallas catches everything he's targeted on. It's amazing.
Yeah, his efficiency, his
And look, the
yards.
helped that out a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. But man, he has, we talk a lot about AJ Brown and Jalen and the connection they have and the chemistry. Jalen has it with Goddard too. And it's really something to watch.
Yeah, those two things really carried over from training camp. We were watching going, every ball is going to AJ Brown or Dallas Goddard. And we get into the season, we're 8 games in, and a lot of those balls are going to AJ Brown and Dallas Goddard. It's the way they run their offense, and it's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, Devontae's been quiet a little bit. He had one nice catch down a little down the field, but
2 for 22 today.
2 for 22.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get a little more involved, but it's kind of hard to complain. He's handling it well. He's still a good blocker for a guy who's really skinny.
Quez had a great block today.
He did. Yeah, it was good to see him involved in the passing game too, and I think Pascal caught a pass, right? Yeah, he caught a pass.
1 for 8. Yeah.
I think it was a first down. Yeah, I know you're not a big fan of Kenny Gainwell, but he really makes the most out of a really limited number of touches. And I think the last 3 games or so, and Shane likes to use him in some high leverage situations. Like, like in the Dallas game, he got the ball down at the goal line and scored. In the Arizona game on that last drive, he had like a carry on 3 straight plays for like 3 for 21. He got the ball down in the near the goal line today and scored. I like his game. He caught a couple passes. I only catch 2 passes today.
3 for 16.
3 for 16. One was a first down. That touchdown was a really tough run. It was really. So I think he got off to a slow start. I don't know. Maybe he's buoyed by the fact that they didn't add a running back. But really, I think the last few weeks, he's with limited touches, limited opportunities. He's really helped this team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'd like to see him. Today was good, seeing him get 3 for 16 as a pass catcher. I mean, that's really why he's here, right? I'd like to see more of that.
Miles. He's a good red zone runner too.
Okay. Miles had 17 for 93. That probably wasn't enough.
I kind of felt that way as well, but they had more success throwing the ball than I anticipated. Houston has pretty good secondary, and but Jalen was, he was so efficient throwing the ball, and they were getting big yards throwing the ball. Thanks, Amy. It's Amy Fadul.
Hi, was your power cord? I don't know.
Amy Fadul just brought my power cord. Hard to believe I left it downstairs. I do feel that way. I felt like, Miles probably could have had another 5 carries, but it's hard to argue with the balance. I think there were 31 rushes, 31 passes. Hard to argue with that kind of balance. And they moved the ball.
I watched them, though, and I agree with you. They were moving the ball pretty well through the air, but man, I thought you could just run over this team. And there were moments where it felt like, hand the ball, like, let's simplify this and just give the ball to Miles, let him pick up chunks. That was my one qualm with the offensive coaching in this game.
Yeah, I guess it didn't bother me as much, just because. Let me get the drive chart out here. I mean, they were. I felt like the Texans really couldn't stop them.
It's funny, that first touchdown drive, that 18-play drive, was not great. It was weird. They worked, but it wasn't like the way you design it. They converted on, I think, 2 3rd and 8s, a 3rd and 6. They needed a 4th down to get it in the end zone. It was just that drive impressed me so much because it was so ugly, but they still just got it done.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It wasn't smoother. They had no rhythm. I actually wrote this down here. They had on that drive, they gained 10 yards on 6 first downs. So they kept getting behind the chains, but they kept making plays. And but I really felt like they could score. They went 3 and out the first 2 drives of the second half. After that, I just felt, well, they had the short field after the CJ GJ pick. I like the offense. I was okay with it. And I'm usually the first guy to say, Miles should have had more carries, but I like the balance. I really thought they could make plays all night, either running it or throwing it.
Yeah, they could. You kind of had to pick what you wanted to do. We'll disagree on that.
Yeah, I hear you. Look,
I'll rewatch and I'll see what it looks like. Jordan Mailata didn't have a great game.
No, he did not.
Jerry Hughes turned back the clock today.
Yeah.
That dude was a monster.
Yeah, he was. Jordan Mailata did not have a good game. Hughes beat Lane. He made life tough for Lane on
Hughes
one or
didn't
two.
get that sack, but it forced a sack.
Yeah. Houston got more pressure on Jalen than they should have. That's not a great.
It was one guy.
It was one guy, and there was a blitz. But I mean,
yeah,
that's not an elite pass rushing team. I was surprised. I thought the O-line just didn't pass block very well. I
couldn't help but think in that game, I was maybe they should have traded for Jerry Hughes and not Robert Quinn. It was great today.
I wonder if Mailata's healthy because he did not look right tonight.
Well, the other problem with the line today was that it looked like they were having some communication troubles. The one snap Jalen was clearly not ready for.
Yeah.
He took that
the one
snap.
where Isaac was kind of looking behind him. And
they're going with a silent count, but you got to figure that out. You can't be messing that up in week 8.
Yeah, I agree. It did seem the whole game was kind of clunky, really on both sides of the ball. Nothing came easy.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice. You just get out of here with a win. You get an extra few days to try to fix all this stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. And at Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit, Rube, because ultimately they gave up 17 points. And if you're giving up 17 points a game with this offense, you're probably going to win. But there are some things you need to clean up. And number one, clearly, is run. Well, I'll combine them. Run defense and tackling.
And they're really the same issue, And Dameon Pierce is a guy that, look, he's not going to go down if you wave at him. He's not going to go down if you arm tackle him. He's not going to go down if you don't get numbers to the ball. We talked about that all week. Or whatever the week consisted of. He's a really good back. He's tough and physical, and he's not the fastest guy, but man, we saw it tonight. What's that?
He's very explosive.
He really is. He's going to be a good player. I just think I think it's going to be impossible for a bad team to beat the Eagles running the ball, just because this offense puts so much pressure on you. And I just don't think you can win. Davis Mills completed 13 passes. I just don't think you can win that way. And Houston it was probably their best bet. It was probably their best chance to win. Mm-hmm. But the Eagles can score so fast. And that's another reason I kind of like being aggressive and throwing a little more than they ran. Well, it was about even. Because you put so much pressure on the Texans. You get them into situations, by the end of the game, they pretty much had to throw, and that played right into the defense's hands. That's when you started getting some sacks and you got another takeaway. But against a good team, and they're going to face, Derrick Henry, Saquon twice, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. That kind of run defense, you're going to lose the game if they don't shore it up. Now, maybe you'll have Jordan Davis back by those games. They could sure use him, but this was a problem before he got hurt as well.
Yeah, and it's not like, look, obviously he helps their run defense, but it's not. He's not a cure-all either. No. The tackling was an issue. You got to wrap up. Avante had maybe his worst game. Of the season.
And CJ, good for him. He's got 5 interceptions in the last 4 games. His tackling's terrible, and he makes up for it with big plays. Great, but he was terrible. Because
you can't throw a shoulder at Dameon Pierce.
No. That's
not good enough. You got to wrap up.
Yeah. It's crazy. Pro Football Focus had the Eagles as a number 1 tackling team in the league last year. They were number 31 going into this game. ahead of only Jacksonville. They didn't do anything to help their ranking, so we'll see if they'll either be 31st or 32nd. Now, obviously, they have a lot of new people, but I mean, this is basic stuff. This is basic football 101 for safeties and linebackers and guys up front, wrapping up, getting numbers to the ball. I don't know if it's all fixable, but I think with better technique. And they were a little better for a while in the second half, but then Pierce started gashing him again. 168 yards. The last 4 games, they've given up 124, 134, 144, and 168. And the stat head streak finder was crashing on me, so I can't tell you the last time that happened, but that's a lot of yards. And they've gotten away with it, but I'll tell you what, against the better teams that they play, it's going to be really tough to win tackling like that.
Yeah, and the longer this game went being close, the more that worries you, because then they don't have to be one-dimensional. So,
right.
Yeah, it was not great. I think they can fix some things. I actually thought Gannon adjusted pretty well in this game. He started using Javon Hargrave over the nose in that bear front. I mean, the Marvin Wilson nose tackle experiment, it just didn't go well. I don't want to kill the kid. It's his second career game.
Right.
But putting Javon there made more sense, and he performed better there. You're going to have to figure out a way to piece this together at that position until Jordan Davis comes back. And I think your best bet is Javon. He's done it before. He did it in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Yeah, Javon was a beast out there, and they haven't really been getting a ton of edge pressure. So he's got 5 sacks in his last 2 games.
Yeah, in the last 5 days.
That's true. Bottom line is Houston scored 3 points in the second half, and I think that's what you're going to see from teams that try to beat the Eagles only running the ball. If you don't get in the end zone, and if the Eagles get a stop on third down, now you're kicking a field goal, or they're getting a takeaway, or you go for it in fourth down, and they stop you. And the Eagles have been pretty good in the red zone. But again, this is a 1-6-1 Texans team against better teams. It's a concern. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the defense was awful. Obviously, Gannon, and they did give up 2 big plays, which really added character. They're only giving up 3 30-yard plays all year. They gave up 2 in the first half. Pierce had a 36-yard run, and that pass to Dorsett. I think that was the one where Bradbury was on him. And just kind of got lost. Just kind of ran by him. 17 points or fewer in 7 straight games for the defense. So
yeah, you're going to win like that. And they got the takeaways again. I know Jalen coughed one up on that blitz when that was the delayed snap or whatever the heck, or early snap, whatever it was. They finally lost a fumble, but they got 2 picks, and that CJ one, we killed him for the tackling. That was a huge play.
It was huge. That was the game.
Set up the touchdown, and that was it.
That was it. He's an interesting player. He makes what struck me tonight, Dave, was that he makes the interceptions that Eagles safeties in recent years would almost make. They would get their hands on it, or they drop it, or it would go. They would just miss it. He's finishing those plays, and he's so athletic. He makes really difficult interceptions. He makes, circus plays. I mean, he's got a pick in 4 straight games. The last Eagle, you probably looked it up. Last Eagle to do that was Bill Bradley, 72.
72, yeah.
Yeah, and
I might have beaten you to that one today. I was trying to. I might have beaten you to it. I was as soon as it happened, I was looking it up.
Yeah. I think he's leading the league in interceptions for now. We'll see what happens on Sunday, but I guess you can live with the tackling if he keeps picking off a pass every week.
I think so.
But, for a guy who wasn't even here during the preseason, didn't have a training camp, or didn't have one here, he's been such a playmaker. It's something they really needed. First Eagles safety with 5 interceptions in a season since not who you're thinking. Since that, wasn't Nate Allen, it wasn't Doc, it wasn't Malcolm, it was Greg. It was Greg Jackson in '94. Okay. Greg Jackson in '94.
Yeah. Javon Hargrave with 3 sacks. We talked about it already, but after the game, he mentioned that his toe, that toe injury from training camp, it was still bothering him early in the year, and he never talked about it. He didn't miss practice time
he was never on the injury report because he didn't miss practice.
Yeah. And he played through it, but he finally admitted and kind of had to pride out of him a little bit that it was bothering him. And the bye week really gave him a chance to rest it. And since then, I mean, if he plays like this down the stretch, watch out.
Yeah.
And Fletcher, by the way, Fletcher didn't play great. He was hurt. He's so tough. We give Kelsey so much credit for being tough, and he deserves every ounce of that. We probably don't give Fletcher enough credit for how tough he is and how much he plays through. That dude plays through everything. He missed 1 snap in this game. I watched him hobble out of the locker room after the game.
Yeah, no, he's definitely. I'm not sure how well he's playing. Got off to a good start this year. I think he's kind of leveled off a little bit, but nobody's going to question his toughness. No doubt about it.
Got anything else on defense? I think we kind of hit most of it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Hassan Reddick with a great break up in coverage.
How about that? I like his old days in Arizona. That was a huge play.
It was a big play. And look, we've talked so much about what percentage of his snaps should be in coverage, and we all agree not many of them, but there are moments in this defense where he's gonna have to drop. And it was really good to see him make a big play. We were kind of joking JG was going to find us all and point out that play because he said that Hassan Reddick is good in coverage. I'm still not on board with that all the way, but he made a huge play when it mattered.
One quick thing on Hargrave. Not only did he have 3 sacks, but 3 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles. That was like a Jerome Brown game. He had all 3 of their sacks. Eagles have 9 sacks in the last 2 games, and 7 are by interior linemen. Yeah,
that's fun.
It's good. You'd like to see some from the edge guys too.
Yeah, Reddick's getting decent pressure.
He is. Reddick is. Sweat's getting some pressure. He's not getting the sacks. I think BG's playing well.
I agreed with roughing the passer he got today.
That was awful.
Think that was. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, it was late. No, that was a good call.
Oh, you thought it was a good call?
Yeah, it was way late.
Okay.
Yeah, it was it wasn't even as he was letting go of the ball. I mean, he had delivered it.
I never saw a replay.
Yeah, I saw one replay. I thought it was a good call. I thought it was like a Derek Barnett play. That's what it reminded me of.
He pointed. It was 96
it was
on.
It was an homage to Derek Barnett.
You got anything else?
No. You know what? We don't talk about Nick Sirianni enough. I just want to. What's he? 17-8 now as a head coach in meaningful games. I mean, this team is always prepared. They're always, like we said earlier, they deal with adversity. They win a lot of different ways, and they buy into him. And he's really impressive. I mean, he's a second-year head coach, and he's got this team as a legit Super Bowl contender. And I mean, Doug won it in his second year, so it's not that crazy. But I think maybe because he doesn't call the plays, we don't talk about him enough. But he's got total buy-in from this team when it comes to preparation, focus. I think a lot of it comes from Jalen as well. You know, I think when Jalen, you listen to him after the game, and he's so obsessed with getting better and never resting on his laurels. And I think that really rubs off on the team. But Nick's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
They got
to argue that.
Yeah. So he's ahead of Belichick now in career winning percentage.
You like that one.
Effective 11 o'clock tonight. Fast game. So you might make your flight.
I hope so. Cool moment in the locker room, by the way. I know the Phillies lost, but we were all the players and a lot of the reporters standing around watching the TV. There was one moment where Chris Smith, our photographer, asked me, "We're going to talk to anyone else?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, sorry." I was getting caught up watching the TV. So then between the top of the ninth and the bottom of the ninth. I said, Hassan Reddick, please talk to me, and we'll get this done before the starts.
I guess that's a first for you.
What?
Doing an interview between innings.
Yeah, that's true. I also had I got to do a Dave Spadaro stiff arm to somebody during my live hit today.
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was impressive. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it was. There were so many people.
A lot of traffic. Yeah,
man, there was so much. I knew it was going to happen, so I was just I had my peripheral going, and I saw him, and I just right to the chest.
What? Who was it? Like a stadium worker or just a fan? Or
I honestly don't know because I did it, and then I could actually hear
before
him.
You started.
It was right before I started, and I stopped him, and then I made a point, and he said, "Oh, I disagree with that." I could hear him, and then he walked away. Yeah, so I was glad he didn't walk in my live shot.
You should find the clip and tweet it out.
Could you see it on there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we were getting a raw feed. I think it might have been on the air. I'm not sure. I'll ask.
Okay.
I'll ask our producer.
I want to see it. I want to see if I look flustered or not. I might, because I was a little flustered. No.
No, you handled it well.
All right, good.
Yeah, good. We were all laughing about that. That was well done.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, safe travels home.
Yeah, thank you. I got to get to the airport pretty soon. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. We appreciate all the love and support. We appreciate those of you who are listening to this in the middle of the night.
Absolutely.
All right, for Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.